Gee, Rain, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
They're Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're laboratory mice. Their genes have been spliced. They're Pinky and the Brain. Brain, 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 brain.
Good afternoon and welcome to Pinky's Podcast, Week 6. It's a beautiful day, sun shining, birds are chirping. It's like 75 degrees out, absolutely beautiful. Feels good to wear shorts again. Might go out later, catch a tan, open the pool back up again. Beautiful day. Had a Patriots win this week. My fantasy team did well. Most of you motherfuckers found a way to come back to the pack a little bit if you were in the lead. So that's nice. Everything's kind of working out for me. Don't call it a comeback, baby. But without further ado, let's get into some scores and let me shit on your teams. Eddie beat Barnsey 105 to 86.5. Bad week for Barnsey. Carson Wentz stunk with 7 points. Mark Ingram stunk with 6 points. Travis Kelce, I was expecting a pretty big week out of him. He only put up 4.5. Nobody on Barnsey's team really did all that great besides Julio Jones. He had 22.5. And Le'Veon Bell had a decent week with 15 points. I feel like you kind of want more than 15 out of Le'Veon, though. He was projected to be like the top running back this week. So 15 points, not ideal. But, 7 points out of your quarterback position is kind of tough to overcome. Eddie finally got a good week out of Andrew Luck, even though he didn't need it. Luck put up 23 points. Matt Forte, another bad week. 1.5 this week. I think since like week 2 he's been absolute dog shit. So that's not good for Eddie. Gronk had a huge week though with 25.5 points. So pretty much Luck and Gronk combined for half of Eddie's points. But a win's a win. Eddie's 3-3 now. Barnsey's 4-2. 2 losses in a row for Barnsey. Maybe he'll stop his losing streak next week. Who knows? He was undefeated, looking like he was going to do really well, but kind of coming back to the pack now. Then we had Espo face Dwyer. Take a wild guess who won that one. Not Dwyer. Dwyer never wins. Not last year, not the year before that, not this year. I would say it's a wedding curse, but he was screwed before the wedding even happened. Espo had a big game out of Brady with 27 points. Brandon Cooks put up 26.5. Pretty good week for him. And then Vinatieri, again, 12 points out of the kicker. Pretty decent. I feel like Vinatieri might be the best kicker, highest scoring kicker so far this year. It's amazing what that old bastard can do. Must have some very good training or very good drugs, either or. Dwyer, I think, only had one person who he drafted in his starting lineup this week, so that's usually not a good sign for your fantasy football team. His waiver wire pickups played decent this week for the most part. Dak Prescott put up 17 points. That's pretty good for your quarterback. Not great, but decent. Justin Howard had 10 points. Once again, not great, decent. James White went off with 21 points, so that's good. Then he played Tavon Austin, who's like playing the fucking lottery. But he gets like 2 good weeks a year. This wasn't one of those weeks. He only had 3.5 points, so that was shitty for Dwyer. So now Espo's 4-2, Dwyer's 1-5. Every year I feel like I shit on Dwyer for like the first 7 weeks of the year, and then like the last half of the season I play Dwyer twice and he beats me, so I can't wait for that. That should be fun. So I'm going to enjoy shitting on Dwyer while it lasts. Next we had Mayette versus Kyle Cabral. Mayette won that one 101.5. Kyle Cabral had 90. Mayette won because of the huge game Lamar Miller had on Sunday night, 29.5 points. He also had T.Y. Hilton going in that Sunday night game. Kyle was already done at 90 points when that happened. I thought T.Y. was going to have a big game for Mayette to have a shot to overcome Kyle. But Ty only put up 5.5, and Lamar Miller fucking saved his ass with the almost 30 points. Kobe Fleener had a big game for Mayette. Other than that, nothing really too significant. Michael Crabtree kind of sucked after I was washing his balls last week, so I would feel the need to apologize to Mayette if he hadn't won this week. But since he won, no apologies there. Michael Crabtree will probably bounce back and score 30 points next week since... Actually, because I'm not facing him. I already beat him last week. If I was facing him, he'd probably go off for even more points. But Kyle, nothing really significant. Everybody on his team put up like 10 points. Pretty much on average, besides Amari Cooper had 17 points. Pretty big game out of him, but he couldn't find the end zone. 10 catches for 129 yards. Be nice to get a touchdown out of that if you were Kyle. But even that wouldn't have really made a difference. Isaiah Crowell was fucking atrocious with 4 points for Kyle. And Julian Edelman, not very good. He needs to get his shit together. He only had 5 points. So Mayette is now 3-3. Kyle Cabral is 4-2. Then we had Davis versus Kyle Fayola. Kyle won that 105-65. Once again, very bad week out of Davis. Packers continue to stink. Must be very difficult to have bad games out of your real team and fucking atrocious games out of your fantasy team. Aaron Rodgers only had 11 points. Eddie Lacy only had 6.5. The highest scoring member of Davis's team was LeGarrette Blount with 14. That's not going to cut it unless like everybody on your team has 14 points, and even then, it'll probably be a close call for you. But Kyle managed to pull out the win, even though Ben Roethlisberger stunk. He only had 9 points, but Ezekiel Elliott had 17. LaShawn McCoy had 33. Everybody else was like high single digits for the most part, middle single digits. But, I mean, when you get 50 points out of your 2 running backs, it's usually a pretty good sign for you. So now Kyle is 4-2 and Davis is 2-4. Last but not least, I had the highest score in the league this week by about 35 points. I think maybe 35.5 if we're going to get real technical. I beat Ben 140.5 to 93. Ben had a huge game out of David Johnson last night, but it didn't really matter. Nothing really mattered unless like Carson Palmer threw 6 touchdowns to David Johnson. That was the only way Ben was even sniffing my jock strap in this matchup. He had a shitty game out of Carlos Hyde. Carson Palmer not very good with 12 points. Zach Ertz stunk with 2.5 points. Randall Cobb did alright for him with 14.5. I mean, 93 is not atrocious, but he got a third of his score from David Johnson with 32.5 last night. So that's kind of what salvaged his score this week. I had a big game out of Drew Brees with 32 points. Odell Beckham went off, 36 points. Jonathan Stewart with 20. And then I got 11 points out of my defense and kicker, which is nice. When they can combine for 22 points, I'm not going to complain very much. And the best part for me, I had 2 players, Terrell Pryor with 23.5 and Terrence West with 25 points on my bench. So I probably could have beat Davis's team with just my bench. That would have been nice. So now I'm 2-4, but making a tremendous comeback. Ben is 3-3. So overall for the standings, we have in the East Division, Espo and Barnsey at 4-2, leading the division. Mayette is at 3-3. I'm at 2-4, and then Dwyer's at the bottom with 1-5. I'm finally out of the cellar. That feels nice. Then we have Kyle Fayola and Kyle Cabral tied at the top of the West Division at 4-2. Eddie at 3-3, Ben at 3-3, and Davis at the bottom at 2-4. So for next week, we have, what do we got here? We got Eddie versus Espo. That should be interesting. I feel like those are some pretty even teams. Mayette's facing Dwyer, so Mayette will be 4-3. Kyle Cabral's facing Davis, so Kyle will be 5-2, looking pretty good there. And then Ben versus Barnsey, which should be pretty interesting. And I'm facing Kyle Fayola. I'm excited for this matchup because Kyle Fayola already took all his Viagra, got real hard, and busted his nut all over the league with his 166 points last week. I feel like I'm only at a 3/4 chub, so I'm gonna try to build up to a full-blown hard dick this week. Still, just for the rest of the year, just OD on Viagra and wait until the playoffs to bust my nut all over you guys. But I'm excited for this. I mean, I feel like I have some pretty good matchups this week. Kyle's missing Ben Roethlisberger. He's going to be out this week. He's got Ezekiel Elliott on bye. He's got LaShawn McCoy against Miami. Kind of scary, but somehow I feel like Rex Ryan's going to find a way to blow that game. The Bills have been playing way too well lately. So I'm kind of scared, but not really scared about that. And then he has DeAndre Hopkins going up against Denver's defense. So I'm really not scared about that. So I like my matchups this week. Very excited for those. Oh, and he has Doug Baldwin, who's going to be matched up against Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson's going to shut him down. And Larry Fitzgerald will probably be matched up against Richard Sherman. So I'm excited about that. He has some really bad matchups. I feel like my team's poised to put up some real good points this week. Can't wait to be 3-4. Then after that, can't wait to be 4-4. Then 5-4. Then 6-4. Then 7-4. Then 8-4. Maybe the last week I sit some guys, go 8-5, get into the playoffs, and then whoop some ass. Very excited. Can't wait for a great podcast next week too. These things are so much more fun when I fucking win. So good luck. And enjoy watching me climb up the standings, motherfuckers.